Life is too short to let negative thoughts control your mind. You weren't created to live weighed down by worry, fear, or doubt. Too often we let these thoughts take root, playing over and over again, stealing our joy and limiting our potential. But you have the power to rise above them. You have the ability to take control of your mind and choose faith over fear, peace over anxiety, and hope over discouragement. The battle is not in your circumstances. The battle is in your mind. Thoughts will come, but you don't have to invite them in. You don't have to accept every thought that crosses your mind. Just because a thought comes knocking doesn't mean you open the door. When negativity tries to take hold, you have to recognize it for what it is: a distraction, a lie, a seed that was never meant to grow. You have the authority to say, no, I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm not going to meditate on fear. I'm not going to let doubt steal my destiny. What you allow in your mind will shape your future. If you constantly dwell on the negative, you'll live defeated, discouraged, and stuck. But if you begin to fill your mind with thoughts of victory, strength, and purpose, you'll step into the fullness of what was meant for you. Instead of thinking about what's wrong, start focusing on what's right. Instead of replaying what didn't work out, start declaring that new doors are opening, that you are strong, that you are favored, that you are moving forward. Your mind is one of the most powerful tools you have. Every day thoughts come rushing in, some positive, some negative, some filled with doubt, and some filled with faith. What you do with those thoughts determines the direction of your life. Too often people believe they have no control over what enters their mind. They assume that if a thought comes, it must be entertained, processed, and accepted. But the truth is, just because a thought shows up doesn't mean you have to give it a home. You have the power to reject what doesn't belong, to push aside what isn't serving you, and to embrace only what strengthens, uplifts, and moves you forward. When negative thoughts come, they don't always announce themselves loudly. Sometimes they slip in quietly, disguising themselves as rational concerns, harmless worries, or reminders of past failures. You might not even notice them at first, but little by little they take root, shaping your perspective, affecting your emotions, and influencing your decisions. A single thought of doubt can turn into a full-blown fear. A moment of discouragement can become a mindset of defeat. That's why it's so important to take control of your thoughts before they take control of you. Imagine a security guard at the entrance of a building deciding who gets in and who stays out. That's the role you have in your mind. You get to decide which thoughts have access and which ones get turned away. When a thought comes that says, you're not good enough, you don't have to accept it. When the voice of fear whispers, you'll never succeed, you have the authority to reject it. You can replace those thoughts with truth, reminding yourself that you are capable, strong, and equipped for everything in front of you. Taking control of your thoughts doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending problems don't exist. It means choosing to see situations through a lens of faith rather than fear. It means acknowledging challenges without letting them define you. You may not be able to control every situation, but you can always control how you think about it. When difficulties arise, instead of dwelling on what could go wrong, you can train your mind to focus on what could. Instead of replaying past failures, you can remind yourself of past victories. Instead of thinking about everything that's missing, you can shift your focus to everything you already have. One of the biggest traps is letting emotions dictate your thoughts. Feelings are real, but they aren't always accurate. Just because you feel afraid doesn't mean you have to think fearful thoughts. Just because you feel discouraged doesn't mean you have to dwell on defeat. You have the ability to separate emotions from truth, to step back and say, I may feel this way right now, but I'm not going to let this feeling control my mindset. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you allow to be planted will eventually grow. If you constantly entertain thoughts of worry, insecurity, or failure, those seeds will take root, and before long they will shape your life. But if you plant seeds of hope, confidence, and perseverance, you will produce a harvest of strength, peace, and victory. You may not be able to stop negative thoughts from knocking, but you can refuse to let them in. You can choose to replace them with thoughts that build you up rather than tear you down. It's not always easy, and it takes practice, but the more you guard your mind, the stronger you become. Negative thoughts are subtle. They creep in unexpectedly, sometimes disguised as concern, practicality, or even wisdom. At first, they seem harmless, a small doubt, a fleeting worry, a minor insecurity, but if left unchecked, they begin to grow, taking root in the mind and shaping the way you see yourself in the world around you. Recognizing and rejecting negativity is essential because what you allow to stay in your thoughts will eventually shape your actions, emotions, and destiny. It's easy to accept negative thoughts without even realizing it. You might hear something critical about yourself and replay it over and over, allowing it to chip away at your confidence. A small failure might make you start believing you're not good enough. One disappointment might convince you that things will never work out. The mind naturally gravitates toward what it is most familiar with, and if negativity becomes your default, it will guide every decision you make. That's why it's so important to be aware of the thoughts you allow in. You can't afford to passively accept whatever comes into your mind. You have to be intentional about filtering out the thoughts that don't serve you. Recognizing negativity starts with paying attention to your inner dialogue. What are you telling yourself every day? Are you constantly focusing on what you lack instead of what you have? Are you dwelling on past mistakes instead of learning from them and moving forward? Are you magnifying problems instead of looking for solutions? When you become aware of these patterns, you gain the power to change them. You don't have to live as a victim of your thoughts. You don't have to allow every negative idea to take root. The moment you recognize a thought that is bringing you down, you can take action. One of the biggest traps is believing that negative thoughts are just reality. It's easy to say, I'm not being negative, I'm just being realistic. But there's a difference between being realistic and being trapped in a cycle of limiting beliefs. Reality acknowledges challenges but also sees opportunities. Negativity magnifies problems and convinces you that things will never change. You have to challenge those limiting beliefs. Just because something didn't work out before doesn't mean it never will. Just because you face difficulties doesn't mean your future's limited. When negativity tells you that you're not capable, strong, or qualified, you have to make the choice to reject those lies and replace them with truth. Rejecting negativity is not about ignoring difficult situations. It's about choosing the perspective you take on them. You can face challenges and still keep a positive mindset. You can acknowledge setbacks without letting them define you. When a thought of doubt, fear, or insecurity enters your mind, don't entertain it. Don't replay it. Don't give it space to grow. Instead, replace it with something better. If a thought says, I'll never be successful, replace it with, I am capable and I'm moving forward. If a thought says, I'm not good enough, replace it with, I have everything I need to succeed. If a thought tells you, nothing ever works out for me, choose to say, good things are coming my way. Your mind is constantly being influenced by what you focus on. If you let negativity take over, it will drain your energy, steal your confidence, and keep you stuck. But when you train yourself to recognize and reject it, you regain your power. You start to see yourself and your life differently. You stop letting outside circumstances dictate your emotions. The moment you take control of your thoughts, everything around you begins to change. What you focus on grows. Your mind is like a magnifying glass, and whatever you give attention to becomes larger and more powerful in your life. If you constantly think about what's wrong, what's missing, or what could go wrong, those thoughts will dominate your mind. They will create a reality filled with worry, frustration, and disappointment. But if you shift your focus to what's right, what's possible, and what you already have, you will begin to see life in a completely different way. Many people go through life always noticing what's lacking. They wake up thinking about everything that isn't going their way. They focus on problems instead of solutions, on obstacles instead of opportunities. It's easy to fall into this mindset because the challenges of life are often loud and demanding, while the blessings can be quiet and easily overlooked. But just because struggles seem more obvious doesn't mean they should be the center of your attention. If you want to live with peace, confidence, and purpose, you have to make a conscious choice to focus on the good. Shifting your focus doesn't mean denying reality. It doesn't mean pretending that everything is perfect or ignoring difficulties. It means choosing what you allow to take up space in your mind. You can acknowledge challenges without letting them control you. You can recognize difficulties without giving them all your energy. Instead of waking up and immediately thinking about what's wrong, train your mind to find something positive. Instead of ending the day dwelling on what went wrong, take a moment to reflect on what went right. There is always something to be grateful for, always something to appreciate, always something to celebrate. Your focus shapes your emotions, and your emotions shape your actions. If you're constantly focused on what's missing, you'll feel discouraged and unmotivated. If you're always thinking about what didn't work out, you'll find it hard to move forward. But when you focus on what's good, what's working, and what's possible, you'll start to feel hopeful, energized, and excited about the future. You'll begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You'll start to notice the ways in which things are coming together instead of falling apart. There are people who always seem to find something to complain about no matter how good their circumstances are. They live in a cycle of negativity because their focus is on everything that's wrong. On the other hand, there are people who remain hopeful and positive even in difficult situations. They find a way to be grateful, a way to see the lesson, a way to find strength in the struggle. The difference is not in their circumstances, it's in their mindset. They have learned to control their focus rather than letting their focus control them. When you face a challenge, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? What opportunity is hidden in this difficulty? Instead of saying, I have so far to go, remind yourself, I've already come so far. Instead of dwelling on what didn't work, think about what you can do differently next time. Every situation, no matter how difficult, holds something valuable. The key is training yourself to see it. It's easy to let frustration take over when things aren't going as planned. It's natural to focus on problems, but the more you do, the more powerless you feel. When you shift your focus to what's right instead of what's wrong, you take back your power. You start to realize that you are not at the mercy of your circumstances. You are not defined by what didn't work out. You are in control of what you choose to magnify in your life. Words have power. The things you speak over your life shape the direction you go. Too often people speak defeat over themselves without even realizing it. They say things like, I'll never be successful, nothing good ever happens for me, or I'm not smart enough. These words are planting seeds in their future. You have to declare what you want to see, not what you fear might happen. Your words are like a compass guiding you toward your destiny. What you keep saying is what you will eventually see. If you constantly talk about what's wrong, how unfair life is, or how things never work out, you're setting yourself up for more of the same. But when you start speaking words of faith, words of hope, and words of strength, you begin to shift the atmosphere around you. Instead of saying, I'll never get out of this situation, start saying, I am equipped to overcome this challenge. Instead of saying, I'll never reach my dreams, start declaring, doors are opening for me, and the right opportunities are coming my way. It may not feel true at first, but the more you say it, the more your mind and actions align with what you are speaking. The words you speak not only affect your future, but they also shape how you feel about yourself. If you keep telling yourself, I'm not good enough, you will start to believe it. If you keep saying, I always mess up, you will act in a way that confirms it. But when you begin to speak words of confidence and self-worth, you start to carry yourself differently. Instead of saying, I'm not talented enough, say, I have unique gifts and abilities that make me valuable. Instead of saying, I'm stuck, declare, I am moving forward and great things are ahead for me. The more you reinforce these positive truths, the more they become your reality. Many people have been speaking negative words over their lives for years, and they wonder why things aren't improving. They don't realize that their words have been working against them. But the good news is, just as negative words can limit you, positive words can release you into new opportunities, breakthroughs, and success. When you start declaring strength instead of weakness, victory instead of defeat, and possibilities instead of limitations, you begin to step into a new level of confidence and power. There will always be negative voices, voices of doubt, fear, and discouragement. Some will come from within, and some will come from people around you. But you don't have to let those voices define you. When someone speaks negativity over you, you have a choice. You can either accept it or you can reject it and replace it with words of faith. If someone says, you'll never accomplish that, you don't have to let it take root. Instead, say to yourself, I am capable, I am determined, and I will succeed. If someone says, you don't have what it takes, replace it with, I have everything I need to fulfill my purpose. What others say about you doesn't determine your future. What you say about yourself does. Life will present challenges, setbacks, and moments where doubt tries to creep in. But the words you speak in those moments will determine whether you rise above them or stay stuck in them. If you want to change your life, start by changing your words. Speak what you want to see, even if it hasn't happened yet. Declare success before you achieve it. Speak health before you feel it. Speak joy before you experience it. Your words are setting the course for your future. And when you choose to speak life, you set yourself up for breakthroughs, blessings, and opportunities beyond what you can imagine. Your mind is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. Just as you wouldn't expect to build physical strength without consistent exercise, you can't expect a strong, positive mindset without daily effort. Too often, people assume that their thoughts are automatic, that they have no control over what runs through their mind. But the truth is, you have the power to shape your thinking. You can train your mind to focus on faith instead of fear, on gratitude instead of complaints, on solutions instead of problems. It doesn't happen overnight, but with daily practice, you can develop a mindset that empowers you. Every day you are faced with choices about what to think. When you wake up in the morning, your first thoughts set the tone for the rest of the day. You can either dwell on what's wrong, on what's missing, on what you're worried about, or you can choose to focus on what's right, on what you're grateful for, on the opportunities ahead. This choice doesn't just happen once, it happens throughout the day. When a challenge comes your way, you can either let it frustrate and discourage you, or you can decide to see it as an opportunity for growth. When someone says something negative, you can either let it ruin your mood, or you can choose not to dwell on it. Training your mind requires awareness. You have to be intentional about recognizing negative thoughts when they arise. Sometimes negativity is obvious, a thought of fear, self-doubt, or worry that you can easily identify. But other times it's subtle. It can come in the form of comparison, frustration, or replaying a past mistake over and over. If you're not careful, these thoughts can take root and begin shaping the way you see yourself in your life. The key is catching them early. The moment you recognize a negative thought, don't entertain it, don't dwell on it, replace it with something positive. If a thought says, "I'll never accomplish my goals," replace it with, "I am making progress every day and my breakthrough is coming." If a thought says, "I'm not good enough," replace it with, "I am strong, capable, and created with a purpose." Just as training your body requires consistency, training your mind is a daily process. You can't expect to think positively one day and have it last forever. Life will always present challenges, and negative thoughts will always try to creep in. That's why you have to make renewing your mind a daily habit. One of the best ways to do this is by feeding your mind with the right things. What you listen to, what you watch, what you read, all of it influences your thinking. If you constantly expose yourself to negativity, to fear, to doubt, it will be hard to maintain a positive mindset. But if you surround yourself with encouragement, with inspiration, with things that uplift you, it becomes much easier to keep your thoughts in the right place. Another important part of training your mind is practicing gratitude. When you make it a habit to focus on what you're thankful for, you naturally shift away from negativity. Instead of dwelling on what's missing, you start to see what's already there. Instead of focusing on problems, you start noticing blessings. Gratitude changes your perspective. And when your perspective changes, your entire life begins to shift. Self-discipline is key. There will be days when negativity feels easier than positivity. There will be moments when doubt tries to take over. But the more you resist, the stronger you become. Just like lifting weights makes your muscles stronger, choosing positive thoughts strengthens your mind. Over time, it becomes second nature. You start responding to challenges with faith instead of fear. You stop letting small frustrations steal your joy. You develop a mindset that isn't shaken by circumstances, but is rooted in confidence, hope, and determination. The company you keep has a powerful influence on your mindset, your emotions, and the direction of your life. The people around you either push you forward or hold you back. They either fill you with confidence and inspiration or drain your energy and fuel your doubts. You can't afford to surround yourself with negativity and expect to live a positive life. If you want to control negative thoughts, you have to be intentional about the voices you allow into your life. There are people who always find something to complain about. No matter how good things are, they will point out what's wrong. They will remind you of every possible obstacle, every potential failure, and every reason why things won't work out. If you spend too much time around these voices, it's only a matter of time before their negativity starts to affect you. You may have started with confidence and excitement, but after listening to their doubts and complaints, you begin to second guess yourself. You start to see problems instead of possibilities. You find yourself feeling discouraged, not because of your own thoughts, but because of the influence of those around you. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who speak life, who encourage you, who remind you of your potential, you feel stronger, more motivated, and more capable. These people don't ignore challenges, but they don't let challenges define them. They choose to focus on solutions instead of problems. They see the best in you, even when you struggle to see it in yourself. When you have the right voices in your life, you start to rise to a new level of confidence, strength, and determination. It's important to evaluate the relationships in your life. Ask yourself, do the people around me lift me up or pull me down? Do they encourage me to be my best, or do they constantly fill my mind with doubt? Are they pushing me toward growth, or are they keeping me stuck in negativity? If you want to develop a strong, positive mindset, you may have to make some changes. This doesn't mean you have to cut people off completely, but it does mean you have to be mindful of how much influence you allow certain voices to have over your thoughts. Some people have lived in a negative environment for so long that they don't even realize how much it's affecting them. They assume that stress, worry, and doubt are just normal parts of life, but they don't realize how much of it is coming from the atmosphere they are in. When you make a shift and start surrounding yourself with positivity, you will notice an immediate difference. You'll start to think differently, feel differently, and respond to challenges with a new perspective. In addition to the people you interact with in person, be mindful of what you expose yourself to. The music you listen to, the shows you watch, the social media content you engage with, all of it influences your mindset. If you constantly take in negativity, gossip, and fear-based content, it will be difficult to maintain a positive outlook. But if you intentionally fill your mind with messages of hope, inspiration, and encouragement, you'll find it much easier to stay focused on the right things. Sometimes the biggest shift comes from finding a community of like-minded people who are committed to growth, faith, and positivity. When you connect with people who are moving in the same direction, you find strength in their support. Their words build you up. Their example challenges you to grow, and their belief in you reminds you of your own potential. The right environment will help you step into the best version of yourself. Your mind is one of the most powerful tools you have, and how you use it determines the direction of your life. Negative thoughts may try to take hold, but you don't have to accept them. You have the ability to shift your focus, to speak words of life, to train your mind daily, and to surround yourself with the right influences. When you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your future. You are not at the mercy of circumstances, doubts, or fears. You are equipped, capable, and empowered to rise above them. Keep renewing your mind, keep guarding your words, keep surrounding yourself with strength, and watch how your life transforms in ways you never imagined.